Hi, this is Mark Ruiz with the Law Offices of Mark Ruiz. And today I'm going to discuss asset protection. So, first and foremost, I'd like to start with the disclaimer. This is just an informational video. It's not intended to be legal advice. For legal advice for your own asset protection strategy, it's best to have your situation evaluated by an attorney. So, I'm going to make these disclaimers in all the videos. This is the first of the informational videos I'm preparing, but it's important to consult an attorney for your specific situation. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to discuss asset protection. So what is asset protection? Asset protection is coming up with a means by which you can make your assets less vulnerable to creditors and litigants. Okay? Who's asset protection for? Well, it's for anybody that has a substantial amount of assets. It's for homeowners, it's for business owners, it's, you see a lot of medical doctors and lawyers who have asset protection strategies because in the professions there's a lot of malpractice claims. So a lot of doctors, they're carrying malpractice insurance, but they'll also have an asset protection strategy. So business owners, medical doctors, anybody that's got a substantial amount of assets, it makes sense to have a good asset protection strategy in place. So why protect your assets? Well, it's because we live in an increasingly litigious society. Every year, more than 1 million lawsuits are filed in the United States. And there are a lot of plaintiff lawyers who will take these cases on a contingency. And if it appears as though somebody does not have assets, they're not going to be that excited about taking the cases if a person doesn't appear to have assets. So let's talk about the different strategies of asset protection. So number one, the most simple means of asset protection is to title your assets in a charging order protected entity. And the most logical and the most common way to protect your assets through a charging order protected entity is through an LLC, a limited liability corporation. And most LLCs do have some sort of well, first let me get to what a charging order is. So a charging order is a remedy where a creditor who sues an LLC could only charge the earning distributions of the LLC, and they can't actually get to the underlying assets. So if you own an apartment building and somebody slips and falls, and your insurance for whatever reason doesn't cover all of the loss, and they try to go after you, if your apartment building is in the LLC, well, what that would mean is that in theory the litigant could only attach the revenue, or not revenues, the earnings from the LLC that are distributed, but they cannot touch the underlying capital asset, which is the apartment building, which is in the LLC. Okay, so the best states for charging order protected LLCs are Nevada and Wyoming. And what's unique about these states is that it could be a single member LLC that is subject to charging order protection. And there's an additional advantage to a charging order protection, and that is that if the earnings are not distributed but they're accumulated within the LLC, the person that holds the charging order will be subject to taxes on the undistributed earnings. So it's a remedy that a lot of people don't want to have. If you have a charging order to collect $100,000 and the earnings on the building, for example, say somebody owns an apartment building in an LLC, are accumulating, every year you are going to have to pay taxes for it, even if those earnings are not distributed. So charging order, really powerful. And so that's why I recommend Nevada and Wyoming LLCs. Again, you want to talk with an attorney to see your situation, but in general, Nevada and Wyoming are great states for these sort of charging order protected entities. Okay, so number two, and I'm reading from a list here, asset protection trust. Now, you don't necessarily want to do, a lot of people come to me for like an estate planning, and they'll do a revocable living trust. That's not appropriate for asset protection. What you want is some sort of trust that is an irrevocable trust, and the trustee has some discretion to distribute the earnings from the trust. And if your assets are properly placed in a asset protection trust, it can be a very powerful tool. And Nevada has an asset protection trust, and they can be used in tandem with Nevada LLCs, and they could be a powerful combination. So the next one is the Homestead Exemption and other exemptions. So a lot of people that are very rich that are sued, or that feel they might be likely to be sued, will locate in states like Florida, where they have a very high or unlimited homestead exemption. A homestead exemption means an exemption for the equity in your house. So in California, the homestead exemption is also very high. So if you have equity in your house, most of the time creditors can't touch it up to, I believe in California, the exemption for a married couple is $500,000 approximately. So, but you want to protect your assets by having some equity in some of your assets tied up in home equity. But you got to look at the jurisdictions, because every state has different homestead exemptions. And then the other that's kind of related is encumbering your property. So beyond the homestead exemption, you want to take out liens against your property with low interest rates. Right now, the interest rates are really low. So you could basically refinance your home so you don't have that much equity in excess of the homestead exemption, and then put the refinanced money in an account where you're getting a higher return than you would be, paying interest rates. Again, right now the interest rates are great. So it's called equity stripping your assets. That's another strategy. Now, you need to note that with all these strategies, and especially when it comes to titling them in LLCs and asset protection trusts, there is a time period. You can't do this. The best time is before you get sued. You need to transfer your assets in there, and if you wait until after you're sued, it will probably be deemed what's called a fraudulent transfer, and the transfer to your LLC or your asset protection trust is likely to be set aside, and there's also other potential negative consequences. So you don't want to wait till you get sued. You want to wait a couple years before you're getting sued, and before a lawsuit's even on the horizon, to title your assets this way. So for more information, you can call me at 650-771-0376, or visit my website at markruizlaw.com, markruizlaw.com, or you can email me at markruizlaw@yahoo.com. Thank you very much.